Good morning, everybody. It is October 5th, 2023, 5:45 a.m. here in the west coast of the U.S., and we will go ahead and kick off the Ask Me Anything. If you're up bright and early, I appreciate it. We're going to knock this out before the day starts and get rolling. So, got all the questions called up from the Linchpin private Facebook group as well as the Linchpin BTWB Squads feature. And get some housekeeping before we start. So first of all, Rogue Invitational this month, end of the month. I know there's a Linchpin crew planning on going, which is fantastic. I hope I see everybody there. I'll most certainly be there. I'll be there with the BTWB team, and I'll be there with the Rogue event as well. BTWB will most likely have some sort of an area there. I don't think it will be in Vendor Village. Maybe it will, but I don't think that it will be. I think it will be last year was in the Rogue tent. I'm not sure if it'll be there again this year. But wherever that BTWB area is, that could be a good place for like a Linchpin just head to and find each other and make some cool stuff happen. So hopefully I'll see people in Texas. Okay, I'll read a cool thing that was just posted yesterday in the Facebook group, and then we'll kick off all the questions. So this is from Matt H. And I like what Matt has to say, because if I had $1 for every time somebody said something like this, I'd have a lot of dollars. Matt says, "Hi everyone. Today is my first day on the program, and I just wanted to officially say hello and offer a little background on myself. 43 years old and been doing CrossFit since 2009. I've been on a competitive program that is supposed to be for masters athletes since 2017. But the volume and training stress has finally gotten to me. Last Monday, I was on my way to the gym thinking about the lifting, Metcon, skill work, and accessories I had planned for the day. Just like every other day, in order to accomplish this, I'd have to break the work into 2 separate sessions. I was thinking about the totality of the entire week and trying to psych myself up and summon the energy and enthusiasm to achieve it all. Not to mention the time commitment was something I really didn't have. Well, let me tell you, I just couldn't do it anymore. I love training and getting better, but it's just been too much for too long. I've gotten better, but I've paid the price with nagging injuries, and the demand of the program has been robbing my energy both physically and mentally. I've been following Linchpin podcast for a while now, and it just seemed like the right time to switch. Signed up for the trial period, and I already feel better about the path forward. Now I can focus on one piece a day, probably do some accessory work if I want, stretch, and call it a day. Looks like a great community, and I'm excited to be a part of it." I tell you what, I not to sound like a broken record. You know it's not fun for the rest of your life, even if you kind of bumped your back squat up a little bit or your clean and jerk up a little bit? Nagging injuries that are your lifelong friends. No thank you. Anyway, welcome, Matt. Really glad to have you here. So let's dive right in. Okay, first one is from Andrew C, and he's asking about Monday's workout. October 2nd prompted this question. Basically looking for substitutions for rope climbs. We used to have substitutions with strict pull-ups and knees to elbows, and he's curious as to where towel pull-ups fall into this conversation, etc., etc. So, we've got the workout of the day, then the wild card, the scaled, limited equipment, the whole 9 yards. And for the rope climb's such a demanding upper body pull that, truth be told, okay, the towel pull-ups, let's get to that. Towel pull-ups are fantastic. And so if you have not only the ability to do strict dead hang pull-ups, which you would need to do towel pull-ups, I guess you could kip them if you want, but the grip strength is also through the roof as well. That if you wanted to do towel pull-ups in place of strict pull-ups, you absolutely could do that. Throw the towel over the pull-up bar and knock out some towel pull-ups. And you could even keep the numbers the same. If it was, 5 dead hang pull-ups in place of a rope climb, you do 5 towel pull-ups. You may have to break it up a bit, but you're going to get better at your upper body pulling, and you'll be just fine. But truth be told, if we're looking about most people, most circumstances, most of the time, most people, just an upper body pull is challenging enough, like really hard. If I asked everybody to get up there and just knock out a set of dead hang pull-ups, what we would find is most people, the dead hang strict pull-up is profoundly challenging and difficult than where they need to be. And even making it even more difficult, like a towel pull-up would be unnecessary for most people. They just need to work on their strict pull-ups, and then improving their strict pull-ups is going to make everything else better. If you fall into the camp where you don't have a rope that you can climb, your strict pull-ups are pretty good. You're not suffering with those at all, and you want to go ahead and change it to towel pull-ups, absolutely. I think you'll be good to go and you'll be great. And with regards to the knee raise that's involved with a rope climb using your legs as well, true, but you don't have to worry about that so much if we're talking about what most people actually need to improve. It's the upper body pull. And then you think about something like we did yesterday, which had 3 sets of 25 knees to elbows in it. Through the other training sessions over the course of the week or the month, you're going to get in that midline ability to close the hip and raise the knees, and you'll be just fine. So if that's paired with increased upper body strength, you'll be good to go. Okay. Next question is from Patrick Starks, asking about, overhead squats that were programmed 30 minutes, are going every 3 minutes. You're doing 2 overhead squats. You're basically doing a double, 10 sets of 2 every 3 minutes. And now you've got a built-in amount of rest right there. But in the past, there's also been like a 7x2 squat workout that doesn't have prescribed rest. And what's the difference between one or the other? So the major difference between one or the other, even though on the 10x2 you're certainly getting in a few extra sets, no question about it. And depending upon where you are in your fitness journey, that couple extra sets might dictate that over the course of the workout the loading goes down a little bit, so you might get a little bit more volume at a slightly lower loading, but still plenty high. Don't get me wrong, it's 100% a heavy day. But the major difference and kind of the learning point that I wanted to have people do during that is, we've done 7x1, 7x2, 5x5 plenty of times, is splashing in those EMOM style lifts, but not within every minute on the minute, although we do those as well when they make sense. But this every 3 minutes to kind of force people to take a set amount of rest. That was the big learning point to take around, because we've got a smart community here at Linchpin, but truth be told, there's plenty of people that still rush the rest periods and rush back to the bar. So setting the rest period on a workout like that was just very, very beneficial for everybody. And especially on something like an overhead squat. So like an overhead squat, it worked out really well to do the 10 sets of 2, because on an overhead squat, you're just not going to squat the loading that you would on a front squat or a back squat. And so don't get me wrong, profoundly beneficial lift, hence why we worked it in there. But getting under the bar a few more times, since most likely the loading is not going to be as substantial as it would on a front squat or back squat, was just good to help not only develop the overhead squat, but get in some more below parallel repetitions at what would most likely be a lighter loading compared to a front squat or a back squat. But the great part there was having people go every 3 minutes, because you really should be looking at the clock and timing your rest periods on heavy days. And although we say 2 to 4 minutes as a general rule on heavy days, that 3 minutes is really nice, and I could even work one in there every now and then that forced people to go on a 4 minute, and I think people would even find a 4 minute, which maybe seems like an extraordinary amount of time to rest if you haven't before, that they would feel pretty good. So hopefully people benefited from that. And as to why that was worked in on that specific day, I'm going to have to go back and just look at all the stuff that we did. All the analysis that was done to lead up to why something was programmed that day is a tremendous amount. I have just the stuff in front of me for the recent period that I'm working on right now, a 4-week block. And I know if you're listening to this in an audio format, you can't see this, but if you're watching the YouTube video, so here's all the stuff that's just going into the current block to figure out exactly what's going to happen on each day, exactly the time domain, the rep range, the loading, the gross movement pattern, the whole 9 yards. We've got let's see how many things we get here. We got this, okay, we got this. Oh, there's 2 pages there, sorry. So there's 2 different pages there as to what's happening. Checklist is what's happening, just detailed notes to go back and scratch off as to why things have to occur. thoughts on different things. Make sure we don't miss this. Okay, good. Yep, still going, just to make sure that what's programmed actually makes sense. Okay, we're still going, still going, still going, still going. Okay, oh, hold on, we're still going. Oh, there's 2 pages there, still going right there. Page there with a little note on it, yet going again. Okay, here we are on some of the notes there. So, a lot of stuff goes into why anything is programmed on any one particular day. And there's actually a question later on in the Ask Me Anything that I'll get to about somebody looking to learn more about programming, and I have something coming up for that. So this will all circle back. Okay, let's see. Next question from AV. Will we ever see some ski erg or sled pull or push work for those of us that have the equipment? I know you try to keep things minimal, but I think it'll be good to log a workout with the above equipment as prescribed every now and then. Short answer, no. I don't want to lie to you. I've got a sled in the garage. It's a ton of fun. It's fantastic. Hand-over-hand rope pulls are fantastic. Got a skier, great. Truth be told, most people don't. It'd be like, is there benefit to doing squats with one of those earthquake bars, the shaky bamboo bars, from time to time? Sure. But 1 out of every 300 people have one of those. So I'm not going to program a 7x1 with that particular bar because it just doesn't make sense for a lot of folks. But if you have that gear, as I always say, you're always authorized to use it. It's effective. It's fun. It's fantastic. Sleds are super cool and awesome. If you've got a place to use it and your neighborhood works well and the whole 9 yards, you can use it as its own individual session for some accessory work. It's a great way to warm up on some heavy days. They're fantastic, so put them out there. And if you've got yourself a ski erg and you want to throw it in there on a particular day instead of one of the other machines that's programmed, 100% authorized to do that. But if we're talking about what applies to most people, most of the time, most circumstances, we're going to stick with what most people have. All right, let's see. Matt F. 3 questions. What's your perspective on all the data collection services out there, such as Whoop, heart rate monitors, etc.? Second, thoughts on using heart rate zone training for GPP. What are you learning right now? Okay, so on the data collection services such as Whoop, heart rate monitors, etc., there's always a couple podcasts that I point people to that are just full-blown dedicated podcasts on those topics. And thank you so much to CW CrossFit for remembering what those specific episodes were. So E.C. Sinkowski, who has a podcast called The Consistency Project, which is excellent. She did like 2 30-minute episodes specifically on those wearable technologies. And I would highly recommend that you listen to them. The first was published by her, again, it's called The Consistency Project, in September of 2021. And the title was Measuring Recovery to Optimize Performance. And then the second one was posted in October 2021, and it's How to Predict Optimal Performance. It's great. And then also very random number 43 might help you. And I guess for that question, long story short, I think the majority of those devices, now hey, if they help you get in the gym more regularly and they keep you consistent, that's a great thing, and that has value, and I can't discount that. Do I think they are necessary? Absolutely not. Do I think they do everything they claim to do with the accuracy that they claim to do it? No, I do not. I think there's wonderful marketing involved in those products, and I think they maybe do a lot of stuff, but they present it as fact. And I don't think that's very honest and transparent. And I also think that, if we're also being real, most people need to get into the gym and work out more. Look around. It's just the nature of the beast. And I've seen plenty of people with those things like, looks like I gotta take today off. No, you probably shouldn't, actually. You probably should get into the gym. I'm not saying you need to burn it down, but you should probably get into the gym. And if you understand your body and modulating intensity, I think they're just a money grab in large part, to be honest with you. But hey, you know what? It's marketing 101. Make sure that you get it into some folks' hands, like famous athletes, sponsor them to do it, aka pay them to wear it, and then everyone will think that they need it. You don't need it. People have been getting very fit for a long time without it. It's just a way to swipe your Visa card. And I think it's probably, and I haven't looked into this, so call me crazy, but there has to be some other way that they're making money, not only from the monthly subscription, but it's basically a data collection service. I would have to think from like a corporate standpoint that the data that you give in there when you sign or tap whatever waiver, that you're authorizing them to sell your data to some other company, that I bet they are making a very handsome fee on selling data to other companies, and it's disguised as a fitness wearable tracking company. That would be my like behind the scenes of capitalism gut feeling on it, but hey, I could be totally wrong. Let's see. We've covered the heart rate training zones as well, for sure, which is just, another way to modulate intensity, whether it's you doing it by feel, going off of your heart rate, going by rate of perceived exertion or whatnot. All of those things are getting down to one particular more important topic, which is modulating intensity and allowing yourself to have days of high intensity, moderate intensity, and low intensity, which is a huge thing that we do and push at Linchpin, which was not a part of classic CrossFit. I gave those lectures for years and years of my life, and we never recommended low or high intensity. It's just not there. It's always high. I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's the best way to do things. And I'm here to tell you from years of doing this, it's not. So allowing yourself to understand and improve your ability to modulate intensity and have those moderate and low intensity days, they're profoundly important and beneficial, and then they allow you to bring the heat on high intensity days. And then you're having deliberate and intentional variance with your effort levels, not just your loadings, gross movement patterns, time domains, the whole 9 yards. So it's very important. What are you learning right now? Right now I'm learning that my daughter is very stubborn when we try to potty train her. And she potentially, I don't know if she got that stubbornness from my wife or from me, because we're both relatively stubborn people. I'm also learning that I haven't used the subjunctive tense in Spanish for quite some time, and it's very rusty, and I need to start working on my Spanish again. What else am I learning? I'm learning, you probably mean about fitness. That's a non-stop, actually somebody else asked about this later on down the road. That's the one thing that I don't have to try to focus on, which is why I kind of made that joke there about the subjunctive tense. I couldn't tell that it was a joke. It's my 24 hours a day, all-consuming deal is strength and conditioning. And whether it's here, whether this turns off, it's podcasts or, people send me just countless links to check out and to follow, and everything that I talk to on the phone is like a fitness nut as well. And it's like people always talking shop and always talking about works. We're always talking about it nonstop. And truth be told, and this again does relate to somebody's question down the road about keeping on top of this stuff. I've said this before, and it really is the truth. Sadly, it's so easy to be cynical in the fitness industry, in the strength and conditioning industry. It's so sad to be cynical. Most of the stuff that comes out is somebody trying to put a new spin on something that already exists just so they'll click on it and think that it's revolutionary, but it's not. Here is just the God's honest truth, whether people want to hear it or not, and this is why Linchpin works. The fundamentals work. And they have worked for decades, and they will continue to work for decades. We've got to squat, we've got to dead, we've got to press, we've got to modulate our intensity, we've got to cover our gross movement patterns, we've got to respect the heavy days, we've got to work in our gymnastics. We have to make sure that we do all this in a beautiful symphony that keeps the athlete progressing gradually without overtraining them, which is really, really hard to do. That's why programming is actually so difficult. And most people aren't good enough at those fundamentals. Okay, truth be told, remember we had that conversation a while ago where we talked about the drone of scrutiny, where if I had this drone, an invisible drone that hovered above your head and watched every decision you made all day long, from nutrition to sleep to whether or not you warmed up and took proper rest periods, and you know what we would find for the overwhelming majority of people on the planet? You don't need anything special. That's the truth. You need to eat better. You need to sleep more. You need to warm up properly. You need to scale when appropriate. And if you're doing the gross fundamental movement patterns of, again, squats, deads, presses, high intensity, sprinting, you are covered. And then some little nuanced thing pops up that grabs everybody's attention, some whiz-bang gadgets, well, check out this new move I saw on Instagram, this kind of whatever. Should we be doing that? Probably not. Unpopular opinion, probably not. And so that's part of the reason that makes Linchpin work, and why we hear countless stories of people coming in with knee, back, shoulder pain, doing more, doing whatever it happens to be, and then that goes away and their things improve and they have a quality of life. And there's a reason these things work and that we focus on the fundamentals. So, but I do still need to get better at the subjunctive tense. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is a good question. From John D. At what point in your life does it make sense to transition from 5 workouts a week to 4 or fewer? I'm sure I keep saying it in every post, but at 55, recovery just ain't what it used to be. I assume that diet and sleep are sufficient to support good training regimens. Any other 55 plus folks, feel free to weigh in as well. Lately, I've just been feeling, just tired. Even my brain doesn't realize how old I am. So there is no one age that you just have to flip the switch as to what you're doing, because each person is different. And as a matter of fact, CW CrossFit chimed in immediately and said, I'm in the 55 plus club and I'm fine with 5 days a week. So now we're in a predicament. 2 people, 55 years or older, one feels they need less volume, one's perfectly fine, which is why there's not the magic 35 plus program, the magic 45 plus program, the magic 55 plus program. You're falling for ridiculous marketing that is bull feces. The most important thing that you can do, but people don't like it because it takes more effort, is education. What we do here, another part at Linchpin, is these shows and the Linchpin Conversations and the Ask Me Anything, the whole 9 yards, the very not randoms. Improving your strength and conditioning knowledge is one of the most beneficial things that you can do, because everybody wants to just have somebody hand them a fish. Learning how to fish is critically important. And so yes, I hand you a fish, and the fish that I hand you is the programming, the warm-ups, the accessory work, the goal times, the wildcard option, all that stuff, so that you don't have to do 40 hours a week of work on that. But the learning how to fish that you do is these conversations about yourself, about modulating intensity, about scaling properly, about understanding the stimulus and how you can make this happen in the real world with your body. And so getting back to this as to when is the right time, only you will know. But here's what I will say. I think, John, without, diving into a whole lot more minutia on your question there, that, sure, try going down to 4 a week if you want. But what might even be more beneficial is that modulating of intensity. And so if you walked into the garage gym, but really just ratcheted it down, how would that feel? So for example, if you do 50 air squats, this is how modulating intensity makes a big difference. If you do 50 air squats just unbroken, you just rip them fast as you can, that's got some spice to it. You might feel that the next day, right? What if you do 50 air squats, but you do it as 10 air squats each hour for 5 hours? Well, then you still got in 50 air squats over the course of the day. You get in the same amount of volume of training that day, but you split it up over 5 hours compared to just you ripped 50 air squats in 1 minute. Same amount of work, wildly different with regards to the intensity. So maybe one of the things you could try, John, is going into the gym and really just lowering the intensity on a couple of days. Really lowering the intensity, and just make it like a movement session and see how that treats you. So there's several steps that you could iterate this thing and see how it treats your body. Okay, let's see. Christoph K, I'm sure this has been addressed in the past, but it seems like there's some buzz about CrossFit and the decline of affiliates and difficulty in starting an affiliate. Do you think there's any truth to this? Well, I'll tell you what. There was a question earlier about what I'm listening to, or what I'm learning about. I am a bit of a nerd in the background about financial stuff, the economy. It's things that I don't consider myself sharp enough about, so I like to listen to those things. And it's a very challenging time in the world, without question, for any business, as far as I can tell. So I don't think that gyms would be any different within that. So I'm sure it's a very challenging time to open a gym, or to keep one open. People are tightening their purse strings. It is what it is. But it won't always be like this. There's highs and lows of the economy, highs and lows and everything else, but we're definitely in a difficult phase right now. So I don't know what the future holds. And maybe that's the most honest question. I don't know if, I don't know what's going to happen to CrossFit. I don't know what's going to happen to the economy. I don't know what's going to happen to affiliates. I don't know what's going to happen to the affiliate model. It beats me if it's sustainable, if it'll be around 10 years from now. Those are actually total unknowns. Here's what I do know, though. That doesn't matter for us, for this community. We've built something at Linchpin. We've been doing this a really long time, and we're going to continue to do this no matter what happens to the outside environment, no matter what happens to the economy, no matter what happens to CrossFit, no matter what happens to whatever. Small businesses, there's always going to be a need for people seeking the truth, finding an awesome community, doing strength and conditioning that's well thought out and meaningful and purposeful and intentional. And I've got you, and I will continue to have you, and we will continue to march forward together. But you're right, it's scary times out there for businesses in general. I don't envy anybody out there right now. CW CrossFit. This is very selfish. Can I please ask that you would wish Isaac a happy birthday? He turns 18 on the 5th. Wow. 100%. Isaac, happy birthday, my friend. Happy 18th birthday. That is a huge milestone in a young man's life. And I'm sure you already know this, but your mom's awesome. She is a beacon of light in the community, and you and her are incredible training partners. I love watching you both throw down in the workouts and see your posts every day. So please, please, please keep it up. And whatever you enjoy eating, have yourself a happy birthday and have a treat. Okay, let's see. I got a couple more here, seeing what's upvoted. Stand by. Okay, all right, this is a good one here. We got a couple more. This is from Stephen R. Sorry. I'm going to ask this. It's probably been asked before. Winter's coming, and I know that I can't keep relying on running because running on ice is suicidal. Thinking about my first piece of cardio equipment for the garage, keeping in mind that I'm 6'3" and prefer the rower over the ski erg and bike when I was at my old gym, what would you say is the one piece of equipment you would add? Also, is an air bike and a rower a rower? Understandably, Concept 2s are the most expensive secondhand, but there seems to be other options. Also, the Schwinn Airdyne can be had for considerably less money than other bikes, such as Rogue or the Assault bike. I read online reviews, but I would love your opinion. Okay, so here's my just straight opinion on that. If I had to have just one piece of gear between an air bike and a rower, I would take the rower if I just had to have one, okay? And that would just be looking at the totality of the fitness that it could possibly deliver me. The range of motion, the resistance, so to speak, and just from the leg drive on the rower, the midline stability, the gentle closing and opening of the hip, the upper body pull as well, the fact that also, unlike a bike which forces you into the range of motion, on the rower you also have to engage your brain. There's technique involved. There's a good proper sequence of events, and there's an improper sequence of events, like a power clean or something like that. That's absent on the bike as well. So the rower is like a phenomenal head to toe, you're not going to get strong like you will get strong doing a deadlift, but there's some strength building in the rower as well, on top of stamina and endurance and all those good things. And there's sequencing involved as well. So you have to have this brain-body connection. So if I had to choose one, I would choose the rower. And it's my little girl's making sounds now. She's telling me it's time to wrap up the AMA. And with regards to are they all the same? I've got experience with some of these, but not every single brand under the sun. Here's what I'll say. Now, I'm a big fan of full disclosure and transparency. So the people at Rogue are friends of mine. I sell apparel on Rogue's website. I have a relationship with Rogue, and it would be improper of me not to disclose that. So the Rogue Echo Bike, yes, it's not cheap. It's also built like a tank. And I had an assault bike previous to my Rogue Echo Bike. And I sold my assault bike and purchased a Rogue Echo Bike. And I purchased it. Didn't get it for free or whatnot. I purchased it. And I didn't have to do that. Didn't have to. It wasn't like to keep in Rogue's good graces. I'm not a sponsored athlete. I did it because after years of having the assault bike, it was just made some clunky sounds. It wasn't like, don't get me wrong, it's a well-built piece of machinery, but it didn't seem bomb-proof. I know it's not a technical term, but it didn't. And so I sold it and I bought the Rogue Echo Bike, and it appears to be built quite bomb-proof. So neither one's cheap. If I had to get one, I would get the one that I feel is more bomb-proof. Now, you can get a Schwinn Airdyne, and you can find a Schwinn Airdyne, if you're lucky, online or Facebook Marketplace or whatnot sometimes you can get a steal on those things. If that fits your budget, pull the trigger on that. I don't think you'll regret it. And however long it lasts, it lasts. I mean, some of those have been around for a long time. So they were built back when things were built well. And if the monitor's old or the calorie conversion's weird, all I would do on one of those older air bikes is look at the time domain. So if you're on a assault bike or an echo bike and the time domain that you're going to be on that bike pedaling moderately is, let's say, 2 minutes to replace a 400 meter run, but there's a certain number of calories and meters assigned, and you've got an old Schwinn Airdyne that the monitor doesn't quite line up with those metrics, pedal moderately for 2 minutes. So replicate the effort level and replicate the time domain. And then in doing that, you're going to be absolutely just fine. So you'll be good. All right, let's see. And for the rower, Concept 2 rowers are great, and they last, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And the company cares and is behind that product. So again, it depends upon your budget. But if you can get a Concept 2, I don't think you'll regret getting a Concept 2, even if it's used. Those things last forever. So even a used one with a bunch of meters, you'll probably still be okay. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up here because my daughter is waking up and I got to start the day. But a final question, and this is what I was alluding to earlier. This is from Andrew G. It says, Coach, what advice or sagely wisdom do you have for potentially self-programming? Don't worry, I have no intentions of leaving Linchpin. I love it here, and the task of programming seems quite daunting, but it also seems fun, and I would love some days to take a crack at maybe programming a week or two just to try it on for size. All good, my friend. Andrew, all I can say is I'm working on a project that will assist you with that. Okay? And so it's in progress right now. It's not a future project that I have planned. It's something that I'm in the relatively final stages right now of being ready to release. So just be a little bit patient, and when that project is done and ready for dissemination, I will 100% let you know. And I think that you'll enjoy it. So, okay, everybody. Appreciate you being awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. We've got a relationship here. Here's the relationship. The relationship is all of you show up, you make smart decisions, you scale if needed, you get your ego out of the way, you do your best to increase your strength and conditioning IQ, and we march off into the sunset really strong, really fit, with knees, backs, and shoulders that feel good. My part of this relationship is to dedicate my entire waking life to providing you with the most intelligent, best laid out, intentional programming on the planet, because programming matters. If you're a beginner, you can do darn near anything and get better, because you've got nothing but runway in front of you. And it doesn't matter even if it's random nonsense. You've been doing nothing. You'll make gains if you're a beginner. If you're an intermediate, it starts to become apparent if you're following random nonsense. And if you've been working out for 5-7 years or whatnot, and you're more of the advanced level, nonsense isn't going to cut it. And so my part of the bargain is to take profoundly good care of you and to keep providing the best program and a community that all of you can be safe and happy and supported in. And so we'll keep doing this, and we'll keep doing it no matter what happens out there with the economy, no matter what happens with anything else. And we'll have people from all around the world united in this pursuit. And that's that. So have a great day, and we'll talk later.